May 27, 2023. It was a quiet summer afternoon in a peaceful neighborhood in Maryland. Everything looked normal. Children rode bikes down the street. Birds chirped in the trees. But then a neighbor noticed something strange. A thick plume of black smoke was rising from the backyard of a nearby home. Concerned, the neighbor called the fire department. When firefighters arrived, the fire had already burned out. There were no people around, no sign of an accident. At first, it looked like someone had simply burned trash in their yard. But what investigators would discover in the following days would reveal something far darker, something that looked like it came straight out of a horror movie. Just 4 days earlier, the quiet home had been the scene of a brutal crime. A 71-year-old woman named Evelyn Carter had vanished. Evelyn was known to her family as Aunt Evie. As she got older, she had begun suffering from serious health problems. She had survived multiple strokes and required daily care. Her main caregiver was her daughter, 46-year-old Melissa Carter, who lived in the house with her. Also living there was Melissa's 19-year-old daughter, Brianna. Two outsiders. Melissa looked like a devoted daughter caring for her aging mother. So when Evelyn suddenly disappeared, most people assumed Melissa would be the first to call for help. But that's not what happened. On May 31st, one of Evelyn's nephews drove to the house. He hadn't heard from her in nearly a week, and with her fragile health, that worried him. He knocked on the door, no answer, so he called the police for a wellness check. At the same time, he texted Melissa, "I'm calling the police to check on Aunt Evie. This isn't normal." Melissa replied with just a thumbs-up emoji. When she finally opened the door, she told relatives that Evelyn had gone to visit a friend. She said she would report her missing after 72 hours. If she didn't return, the responding officer accepted the explanation and left. But Evelyn's family wasn't convinced. 2 days later, another relative called 911. Police returned to the house. When officers arrived, Melissa once again insisted that her mother had simply left the house. She claimed Evelyn had a history of disappearing for a few days before coming back. But inside the house, investigators immediately noticed something strange. There was a strong, foul odor in the air, a smell detectives would later describe as unmistakable. The smell of decomposition. Officers began searching the house. In the basement, they discovered something horrifying. 3 white trash bags sat on the floor. Blood stains surrounded them. One of the bags was partially open. Inside, investigators could see human brain matter. Nearby, they found a knife, cleaning supplies, and the cover of a chainsaw. A few moments later, they found the chainsaw itself. The home had just become a crime scene. Police brought Melissa and Brianna in for questioning. At first, both stuck to the same story. They claimed the last time they had seen Evelyn was a few days earlier. Melissa insisted her mother had simply left the house. But detectives quickly noticed something strange. Melissa kept rubbing her back and neck, looking uncomfortable and tense. Brianna, on the other hand, seemed nervous but cooperative. Investigators decided to question them separately. When detectives told Brianna what they had discovered in the basement, her composure began to crack. They explained that a dismembered body had been found in the house, and that the body had likely been there for several days. Then Brianna revealed something disturbing. She admitted that several nights earlier, she heard her grandmother scream. At the time, she had asked her mother what happened. Melissa told her that someone had simply dropped something in the basement. But Brianna knew the sound didn't seem normal. Eventually, the truth began to emerge. On the night of May 23rd, Evelyn had confronted Melissa about money. Investigators later discovered Melissa had been secretly stealing money from her mother's bank account for months. Evelyn had finally noticed suspicious purchases. She confronted Melissa. That confrontation turned violent. Melissa suffocated her mother with a plastic trash bag. After the killing, Melissa forced Brianna to help cover up the crime. She had ordered a chainsaw online using Evelyn's bank account. Together, they dismembered the body. They placed the remains in bags and attempted to burn some of them in the backyard. Neighbors later remembered seeing smoke from a grill and small fire at one point. They even tried cooking chicken on the grill to disguise the smell. But the smell of decomposition eventually exposed everything in the end. Brianna agreed to cooperate with investigators. She pleaded guilty to accessory after the fact and received 5 years of supervised probation. In exchange, she testified against her mother. Melissa Carter was found guilty of first-degree murder. The court described Evelyn as a loving grandmother who had spent her life supporting her family. Melissa was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Today, the quiet Maryland house stands empty. A place that once held a family now carries the memory of a terrible crime, all sparked by greed and a betrayal that cost a grandmother her life.